Hello, my Edu family. Let me welcome you to, you guessed it right, this is Analysis Thursday, and we're in the month of Jubilant July. Our focus this month is on the social emotional learning theory and how it is that we're going to be utilizing it in our classroom spaces. We look back at the year that was. Did we practice any of this? Or how will we plan for the new year that is coming? And so we have an interesting lineup for you for this month. I have started the series on Sunday, and coming on the 18th and the 25th, we have a counseling psychologist who will be focused on looking at the theory a little bit more deeper. But guess what? Our analyzer for the month of July is no other than Mr. Royston Tibby. And let me give you a little background information, Edu family, about Mr. Tibby. He has been in the classroom for the past 7 years. He's a primary school teacher at the grade 5 level, and he's at the Comfort Hall Primary and Infant School. I don't see why it is that we would have a better fit than Mr. Tibby, because he is also an active individual in the school community and in his church. He has a bachelor's degree, of course, in education from the Bethlehem Moravian College. Sorry. So all the Bethlehemites, I know that you're excited. He is he's the co-sports coordinator, the football coach, the cricket and track and team. He's in charge of the track team, sorry, at his school. He's also the co-mathematics coordinator, the science coordinator, the staff secretary, a member of the school safety and security committee. He's just that well-rounded individual who would have been interacting with the school, with the students, with the community as it relates to social emotional theory. His motto says, look to the sunshine and you won't see the shadows. Mr. Tibby, let me welcome you to Strategic Educational Consultancy Services, or platform on YouTube. We are so delighted to have you for the Jubilant July month, and we are focusing on social emotional learning theory. Welcome, Mr. Tibby.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis, and hello, Edu family. It's a privilege to be here this evening to share with you on this platform. I have been watching your videos, Mrs. Lewis, and trust me, it's very informative. It's very informative for us as educator. And I just want to say, even before we start, to just continue doing what you're doing. I started it today because I don't know why you never tell me from a long time that you had such a wonderful program. But when I started watching the video
Yes.
today, trust me, it was enlightening, and I'm going to share it with my colleagues.
Okay, great. So, Mr. Tibby, you have watched Sunday. We refer to it as Strategy Sunday. So you'd have watched that video on the social emotional learning theory. What were your takeaways? What were the high points that came out of that presentation that spoke directly to you? What were they?
Well, I really, when I looked at all the components, I looked at three main components that I saw where I, in many cases, practice this in my class. And sometimes when I listening to your presentation and I saw it, some of it too, I had to reflect, and it came out informally. Some of them were deliberate. First thing, it's the one
Yes.
about, and I wrote it down, it's self-management, right? And it speaks about managing emotions and behavior to achieve their goals. Now, self-management for me is very important, and we're looking at the students, but as individuals, as teachers, it has to start with us, because we cannot expect
Yes.
the students to manage themselves if we ourselves are not good managers, because your classroom should be a reflection of you the teacher, whatever type of teacher you are. That's how your classroom would reflect. It will reflect that in your classroom environment, how you deal with the students. But when I looked at self-management, and based on your presentation, from the notes I made, it says regulating one's emotion, thoughts, and behaviors effectively in different situations. Now, this is very, very
Right.
important. This is very important
Yeah.
because as my students, as I teach on a daily basis, I see where the students sometimes they don't know how to really manage their emotions. They're from different
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. Remember that we have a wide
Yeah.
range of students teaching. No, I'm one teacher, but for instance, my class now I have 34 students, and so that's 34 different households, and so they handle things differently. And so when I look at it, it says reflecting and goal setting. That is very important because as a teacher, again,
Yeah.
I have to carry out active reflection each day, each
Yeah.
moment, whatever lesson I'm teaching, I have to be reflecting at the same time, right? And I have goals that I want to meet for my students. So I teach them, sorry, when I'm speaking to them in class, I sometimes lead the process of reflection. And so when I lead the process, after a while, I don't have to even ask them to reflect. They will come to me and say, Sir, you know what I did wrong? Sir, you know what I did right? You understand? And also,
Yeah. Yeah.
goal setting, you have to set goals. And teaching a grade 5 class that is a PEP class, I have them set their goals. I said, for example, I have students who are struggling readers. I have some of them. My class is a mixed ability class. And so I say to them that you're at the grade 1 level now. Where do you think you could reach at the end of the term? And whatever we're doing, we set goals. So if we have a class, like we have a class project that we were doing in science, I love sciences. And I said to them that
Yeah.
by when you think we can gather all these materials, one of the main thing I do with my students, I allow them to give me the times and dates, So once it is feasible,
Good.
I agree with them because I don't really take the lead all the time. I'm leading, but I'm more as the facilitator, right? I do the
Yeah.
scaffolding. Yes, so that's it for the self-management part.
Okay, awesome. And as you said that, Mr. Tibby, I remember when we were growing up, and we had teachers then who would help us in an informal way to look at how we manage ourselves in the classroom. And I think that, as the Bible says, and it can't go wrong, there's nothing new under the sun. It's a revolving thing, it's a recycling approach that no more so in light of students who they are not being protected as they should. They are not being motivated as they should in their school, in their not their school, in their communities, and maybe at home. That this self-management approach is needed. It's something that we need to pull back to the table. So I like the points that you have put forward, and I like the fact that you're coming from the primary perspective. So you have to teach the students all the subjects, and so it makes it
Yeah.
easier for you to have that winsomeness when it relates to self-management. So I like that takeaway point. Then you said you had three. So what's the next one that you want to share with us?
Self-awareness, yes. The next
Okay.
one was self-awareness. And trust me again, when I was looking at this anyway, looking at the presentation about the social and emotional learning, I could have said all of, because none is more important than any. You need to have all of these.
Yes.
But basically, they
Yes.
struck out at me. All right. And it said self awareness when one recognizes one's emotions and thoughts and their influence on their behavior. Right. Now,
Mhm.
your thoughts. My grandmother always tell me a little saying that so a man thinketh, so is he.
So
So I
is
say
he.
you
Mm-hmm.
have to foster positive thoughts. You know, in my class, I have students again, and for me, my students who are at the lower level learning, all of them get the same attention. But sometimes when they're at a lower level, their
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem is shattered, and students in the class, right, will call them names and laugh after them. However, not in my class anyway, because I've
Mm-hmm.
learned to get rid of that, right? But one of the
Yes.
things I have them to think positively about themselves because your thoughts really affect your life, right? So what you think, how you think about yourself, how you see yourself, you will act in that way. So I have them
Mm-hmm.
develop positive thinking, right? Because it says positive awareness. You say writing things they like about themselves. For me, well, not mostly writing. My students and I, we have this time that we talk before each lesson, or
Right.
especially in the morning. I spend 10 minutes with them. And that 10 minutes is not to talk anything about work. So for instance, I will look in the class and I look at one of them hairstyle. And I said, like I would say, Raquel, your hairstyle look nice to the man. They said, Barrel come. And then everybody start laugh out loud. From that. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
from that situation there, just giving them a compliment makes them feel good about themselves.
yes,
But however, the next thing I tell them is that foster this, I can do it mentality. Say, I am enough, I am not
yeah,
inadequate, I can do this, I can achieve this. That is one thing because how they think and I think as educators, we really need to pay attention to these issues. Many will say that we're not guidance counselors, but we are. Teachers are everything. We're doctors, we're
yes.
guidance counselors, we're the police, we're everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, my
We're mommies
students,
and daddies.
having them think, yeah, mommy, and not to mention that part. And my students, I just try to have them foster that thought of thinking highly about themselves. Another point under the self-awareness component that I made a note of was the part about discuss thoughts, actions, and feelings. Right? For me,
Yes.
whenever especially there's a conflict in my class, or whenever I'm doing something and I see that the students are not understanding or they're not in agreement, I have to listen to them also. I give them that avenue where they can talk back to me as the teacher. Because if they're not able to think about yourself as an adult. Sometimes things are bothering you. You're a married woman. I'm a married man. And you know that
Yes.
in marriages, if something is bothering you,
Yeah.
it's best for you to sit and talk about it. Right? Privilege, we
Right.
can sit and talk about these actions. So the self-awareness component, and I'm telling you, we're just touching the tip of it. I wish we had to have the whole day in
Yes.
order to
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yes. So yes, I agree with the self-awareness because you know, sometimes students tend to, as I usually say to educators, sometimes school is the only place that they will come in your classroom and they feel accepted and they feel comfortable. How do you cater to these students when they come to you? Sometimes you are the only teacher that they trust to come and say, sir, this is happening to me, or miss, this is happening to me. So if you don't create that atmosphere to help them to release some of the stress, to talk to you, to unwind themselves, they will not be able to do it with someone else. And this goes under the carpet, and our students, they get lost along the way. And I always say to that, build relationships over content. The students should be so comfortable that they can discuss things with you. And in discussing it, it makes it easier for you to teach them because you know them, they know you, and it's a mutual trust relationship, and so they'll be able to grasp. And if we should do a data check, you'll realize that most students who do well in a subject, it is because of the relationship they have with the teacher, not necessarily how the teacher may bring across the content, but it's a trusting relationship that they know that yes, Mrs. giving me or Sir is giving me content, and he's also or she's also a person I can talk to. So that is very important. And in looking forward to the new school year that is coming, because this year has ended already. So in the new school year that is coming, it is something that as educators we all can look at to see how can we build these into our lessons. So you have your final high point that you want to share with us. Go ahead, Mr. Tibby.
other part is social awareness. And in the social awareness, it says showing understanding and empathy for others. And trust me, this is very important again because I remember in my class for before grade 5 was sent back face to face, I was seeing one of my students, I was helping him with his work. And so he lost his brother. And so it was in the same week when we returned to school. And he was there sitting in the corner. I knew that he lost his brother, but the classmates didn't know. Many of them didn't know. And he was there and he just sat down and one of the students was asking him to do something. But his mind wasn't in the class. And she just
Yeah.
shouted at him and he just started to cry. And from there, what I did, I just have to sit the class down and explain to them. I said, just think about it. If you lost your brother, if you lost a sister, if you lost mommy or daddy, God forbid, how would you feel? And
Mhm.
for about 15 minutes, I didn't teach anything because we sat there, we spoke to him. I said, do you like, Mr. What do you remember about your brother? So I had him sit beside me in my chair
Yeah.
and the students were there. I saw students in my class started to cry because they were feeling his pain, So
Mhm.
understanding
Yeah.
these behaviors, understanding others and that how others might be feeling, as it says here, showing understanding and empathy, for others. So understanding how they
Yeah.
feel better help them to know how to what's the word I'm looking for now? Know how to treat their classmates. Because once they
Yeah.
understand each other, understand the situation that this is something that is not making Johnny happy or not making Lisa happy. How is it that I can help? And so I try to do that a lot. And what I do to in my class, one of the things I try to practice and that I practice more and more is that I apologize to my students when I am wrong. There are
Very
times
good.
I've
Yeah.
punished them in class and I
Hmm.
realize that, like for instance, I punished someone one time and I realized that I wrongfully punished him. And he was trying to explain to me, but because of anger, I did not listen to him. And so I realized that that made him, he was angry. He wasn't showing it in
Yeah.
class, but showing it out in any fighting. He wasn't doing it physically, but emotionally. And I saw him sit down and he was withdrawn, a boy who was really willing to answer. And he was vexed with me. And I looked at him, and when I found out, I took him in front of the class. I wrote a letter because in my class I have them write letters, and that helps them to write. So I did the same thing. I went in front of the class and I read it to him. And I sat down to him and I said, I understand how I made you feel. And I am sorry. I realized that you were angry and that you were being wrongfully accused. And right there and then, my students, they respected me. They started opening up to me. I have some students in my class. Some of them are way beyond their age. And one of the little girl came to me and said, Sir, I first want teacher ever do that, sir. I felt good. I felt good. So in that case, I understood how my emotions hurt them. So what I
Yeah.
did, I modeled for them to
Hmm.
say that when you hurt somebody or when somebody is hurting, you must
Wrong.
not just to conclude or jump to conclusions, but what you need to do is to try to understand. And so, therefore, in school, once we teach our children that from the primary level, I think that will alleviate many of the problems that we're having at the high school.
Yes.
Because especially in the high schools around here where we see, because I'm on the road and I've seen high school students on the road and the way they're behaving and fighting just because of lack of communication, lack of understanding, not being able to show empathy and understanding for other situations. And so students are normally bullied. So basically, as I said, this social and emotional theory, trust me, this was a wonderful presentation by you, ma'am. And trust me, I
Thank you
see where
so
a lot of it I have to be employing it September morning. Hopefully we get to go
Yes.
back face to
Yes, Mr. Tibby, thank you so much for being here with us. But before I allow you to go, how do you see this improving our school system? First, let us look at it in the Jamaican context. How will such a theory, if we practice it as educators, how do you believe that this will impact our students? And then globally, what's the effect you're seeing if this is something that we commit ourselves to doing in our classes?
listen to me. If we commit ourselves in doing this, we'll have more students, we'll have more high achieving students. we'll see more potential. We'll see more the potential that the hidden potential that many of them have. We'll see it coming to the fore. We'll have a transformed school system. We'll have less school fight, less truancy, less absenteeism from school. Oh, come on, man. It's a wealth of benefit. For the teachers, trust me, right now the education system is stressing. And one of the reasons why it is stressing, apart from the administrative work that we have to do that I won't get going to at the moment, but apart from that, one of
Yeah.
the stresses us as teachers handling students with bad behavior. But if we employ
Yes.
these social and emotional issues and this theory in our classroom, many of those problems will have more students who are more understanding to each other, students who are more responsible, students who are more willing to try their best to do their work. So of course, if we do this in the Jamaican context, it would be a wealth of improvement. I can guarantee, I can put my head on the block, as we always say for this, that if this is practiced in schools, we'll have a better school system, higher achievement, as I said before, right? More well-rounded students, students who are able to express themselves. And so therefore we'll have a transformed education system. In like when I look internationally too, it's the same thing. Better relations. It's not
Mhm.
only academically doing it, because this is a lifelong
Right.
learning skill. Because it's not only going to apply in the classroom for the students, but we are developing young men
Yeah.
and young women of tomorrow. We want them to be able to interact in society in the same way, right? Understanding each other's feelings, being aware of yourself, taking up responsibilities. Because trust me, if
Yeah.
you should say, I know you're a very experienced educator, Mrs. Lewis, and you must see where you see students even with potential and they have thrown away their life, right? And then you see
Yes,
others
true.
yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
therefore, once this is taught, once this theory is practiced in the schools, I guarantee you that we'll have a lot of improvements in that manner.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tibby. There you have it, my Edu family. We want to thank Mr. Tibby for being with us for the first series, the first broadcast of the series when we look at the social emotional learning theory. And he will be on with us next week and the other week because he is our Jubilant July analyzer for this series. Mr. Tibby, thank you so much. And I want to just encourage you that we need more teachers like you in the system, more teachers who will be looking out for the students and to ensure that these aspects that we're learning that they're carried out. And for you, my Edu family, you're watching, you're listening, go ahead and like the video, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know how was it with Mr. Tibby this week? What was your takeaway points from the presentation? How do you plan to utilize this for the future as you plan for 2021-2022 school year? Thank you so much, Eddie family, for committing to strategic educational consultancy services where our mission is to empower you. Thank you again, Mr. Tibi, and we'll see you on Sunday when we look at another aspect of the social emotional theory. How do we get it going for teachers? How do we get it going to help you to plan effectively for students? Thank you once more and all the best. And remember that as you are empowered, you go and do likewise empower our students. Thank you, Mr. TB, and thank you, Eddie family. God bless you all. Great.